What is your weirdest experience while going to the gym? Red hoodie guy would come into the gym always wearing the same red hoodie. He would hit the treadmill at 8 to 10 miles per hour and just go. He could keep this pace for 30 minutes, but never seemed to get exhausted. Here's where it gets weird: he must have had headphones on under the hoodie because he would air guitar and headbang the entire time. Imagine a guy running at full tilt while shredding on an air guitar, non-stop, for half an hour, not breathing heavily or grunting, before abruptly stopping and walking out of the gym. Sometimes I bob my head to the music I'm running to, but that shit throws off my balance and concentration, so I keep it to a minimum. I can't imagine full-on headbanging in the middle of a sprint. Maybe I just need to get good? Reminds of this guy in my high school pay class that ran the mile in Vans, jeans, a hoodie and his full backpack. My school gave hella textbooks, so I know that backpack was heavy as fuck. To top it off, he finished first. I still don't understand. I got literally flexed on. I saw a girl who I mistook as somebody I knew, went to say hi. She was cool about it, said it's happened before. Then a guy came over and said, "Something going on here?" and literally just flexed. I've never had a bad experience at the gym before, but this dude was above and beyond. Always see them together now. Dude must have some redeeming qualities about him. Maybe that was the first time they met and she immediately fell in love with him due to how hard he flexed his muscle. That's such a power move. Not because it'd be super intimidating, but because I'd be so dumbfounded by someone literally flexing on me. It's like suddenly finding yourself in some kind of a weird exotic tribal ritual, and you have no idea what would constitute as an appropriate reaction. A guy at a very nice luxury gym was not just dropping his squats, he was actively throwing them up and letting them drop 4+ feet to the safety rack, causing a ridiculously loud sound and a crash. When I asked him to stop, he was extremely aggressive and rude and said he had been a member for 10 years. Management ended up kicking him out about 10 minutes later. I had a similar situation at my gym. This jackass was doing shrugs, not particularly heavy, and doing the odd groaning and moaning. It was so obviously put on. So me and my friend stopped him and asked, very politely, if he wouldn't mind toning it down a bit, shutting the hell up. His whole attitude was off, cocky, arrogant, etc. He said the same thing, that he had been a member for X amount of years, as if I give a shit how long you've been going to this gym for. He did tone it down a bit but was still grunting. Fast forward 2 months later, someone else had filmed him on the treadmill, grunting and shouting as he ran. WTF. He was asked by the owner to leave the gym. Haven't seen him since. What is up with people grunting for every rep? Why do they do it? Why? Gotta create those uncomfortable social interactions to really get the adrenaline going and lift harder. Nothing spikes the heart rate like getting a polite request to stop doing something annoying and unnecessary. I remember a guy would spit and lick his hands before lifting weights or using machines and wouldn't clean it afterwards. Then even weirder, he would straight up moan like he was fucking while lifting the heavier weights. It was weird and gross. Right now I don't know what I find more gross. The dude using bars and machines with salivated hands, or him licking his own hands after each machine. I mean, people don't really wipe the handles off after using them, and God knows how often the personnel actually cleans them. Ux. I hate to run, but run about a mile a day at a 10 minutes, mile pace before I go and do weights. Like, I hate it so much I wish for a heart attack to take me away at about minute 4. Any case, the treadmills at our gyms have big timers on them that are easy to read. I get on the treadmill one day and see that the guy beside me is running a 5K, a preset on the machine, and has been on for about 4 minutes. But he's going fast, like full out sprint. I punch in my 12 minutes, 10-minute mile plus 2-minute cool down, and start to run. We finish at the same time. Dude ran a 5K in about 16 minutes. Full on sprint the whole time. I was just kinda in a daze thinking about it for the rest of my workout. I ran a 5K once and saw a guy do this right in front of me. It was an out and back loop trail, and I'm just coming up on the halfway mark of the out portion, and here this dude comes like a fucking freight train, just steaming down the back portion full speed. My wife and I just looked at each other like, what the fuck? I was on the treadmill waiting for the only squat rack to open up. A guy was holding it up talking to some other guy, and they talked for like 15 minutes. I was about to ask if I could work in, and then they started praying. Other guy put his head down, and squat guy put his hands on other guy's shoulders and started praying and doing that loud huh thing between sentences Southern Baptist preachers do. And then another guy walked up to get in on the action. At the loaded squat rack. I just went and worked my legs on the machines. Years ago I was newly signed up at a gym. On my first day of a real workout I am approached by a woman who proceeds to tell me off about what I do not know. I explain I do not know her nor do I know what she is talking about, and she says very snidely, "Oh, it must be your twin sister then who is the bitch." I said yes, everywhere my sister goes she creates headaches for me. I have no sister, and from that point on the woman sort of follows me around the gym every time we are there at the same time. Commiserating about what a bitch sister I have and how I am nothing like her, thank God. Back in the early 1980s and late 1970s, I used to work out at Gold's Gym in a western Canadian city. The gym was also the favorite workout spot for professional wrestlers when they were doing a gig in town. The weirdest thing was seeing how dramatically different some of these guys were in real life compared to their wrestling personas. One guy whose persona was of a British dock worker type would show up at the gym in a three-piece suit, edit, no he didn't work out in a suit, and speaking the poshest of British accents, and was constantly giving other wrestlers investment and tax advice. Apparently he was an accountant as well. What was surprising was that some of them weren't faking it, but in real life they were as rude, selfish and ignorant as their characters. I also remember how sad was seeing how some of the older wrestlers were really suffering from dementia, probably cumulative effects of concussions, and were literally guided through everything by other wrestlers, even simple things like getting dressed. I was impressed by the care some these guys gave to their older colleagues who needed constant attention. However, the most interesting experience was Jesse Ventura. Of course, when the wrestlers showed up, they were generally followed around by a horde of fans, usually teenage boys. Some were hostile to their fans, telling them to F***ck off, others gave a quick acknowledgement and then moved on. However, Jesse would spend an incredible amount of time with his fans, especially the younger ones, listening and talking to all of them with total attention. I remember seeing him trying to do leg presses while taking questions from a crowd of boys about what it means to be a man. Even back then, when he was just the heel, Jesse the Body, out of the ring he showed that he understood the impact that he could have as a role model to young men and took it seriously. When he became governor of Minnesota, I was definitely not surprised. As a Minnesotan, we are kinda proud of Jesse. Somehow he became our governor, and didn't fuck it up, because he was smart enough to hire the right people, and delegate correctly. Occasionally, I still hear him on 93X, our local rock station. I always like when he's on the show because he doesn't bullshit on his views. That and he was a goddamned sexual tyrannosaurus. The woman who was hanging out in the locker room in her underwear. She was there when I came in, and still there an hour later. Someone told me she was probably an IG model doing a selfie photoshoot. I'm pretty sure at the YMCA where I used to work there were old dudes who came just to be naked in the locker room. There was no sauna or steam room in the locker room. Just lockers, changing area, bathroom, sinks, showers. I'd get there an hour or so before my shift, lifeguarding, to work out. Old naked dude in the locker room. I'd finish my workout and go to shower and change into my lifeguard stuff, same old naked dude still there. I'd go to the locker room to pee during my break, still same old naked dude there. We'd be closing up and I'd have to go clear out any stragglers in the men's locker room. That old dude is finally putting his clothes on to leave. It was really fucking weird. What the fuck, what do people do naked in there? I mean, any guesses? I can't make any guesses, but I can reconfirm that for some reason old dudes just cannot get enough of being naked as fuck in gym locker rooms. I do not get it. The last gym I was at had one particular overweight old guy who for some reason got his jollies off slowly walking back and forth from end to end of the locker room, over and over and over again, all kinds of naked. Why? Yes, and they're everywhere. The last few gyms I've been to have been in fairly young, yuppie-type areas. Walk around the gym and you don't see anyone over 50. Doesn't matter. Half the guys in the locker room are old dudes walking around naked. No idea where they come from. Gym locker rooms are old naked man spawners. Gotta make sure no blocks have lower than 8 light intensity. There's a regular at my gym who always gets stares. She's pretty much built like a stick and she's an older woman in her mid-50s. I've seen her a couple of times doing this workout. She literally spends no more than 30 to 45 secs on each machine and does them with the worst form I've ever seen in my life as fast as she possibly can. For example, on the cable pull down, she'll pull the handle to her neck level, let it raise to about nose level and pull it down again. She'll do this move of about 3 to 4 of motion just as fast as she possibly can for about 30 to 45 secs. Then she'll move as fast as she can to the leg press, which she'll fully extend her legs, and with her legs nearly extended she'll just bounce the weight over and over. At no point does she return anywhere close to the start position until she's done after another 30 to 45 secs. Then she'll go to the treadmill or the rowing machine or something and do that with the worst possible form. After about 5 minutes, she's done and she'll quit and leave. There was a guy just like this at my gym. Way too much weight, and would only move the bar about 6 inches back and forth in a jerking, violent motion. Just shake my head and move on. She sounds like she's had no one available to show her proper form. Maybe approach one of the gym's trainers and ask them to watch her so she does not get injured. Usually, when they see something very wrong, they'll ask if the person wants any help or advice. As an alternate, you could approach her and say something non-threatening. Maybe, "I've watched you working out, and if you'd like, I'm available as a workout partner." If she agrees, then you can approach form, machine function, proper extensions, etc. I used to always do this, but someone showed me I get more out of it when I do this, the most wholesome reply in the whole thread. I'm very self-conscious in the gym because I don't know what I'm doing half of the time. If someone offered to help me, I would be very grateful. Unless they come across as creepy or patronizing, then I would be noping the fuck out of there. One of the dude bros at my old gym interrupted me once when I was doing a lift because I was swinging the bar when trying to lift it, and he just approached and was like, "Hey, man, can I give some advice? What you're doing will give you a hernia." So he showed me proper positioning, and along with his dude bro buddies were always willing to step over and help spot when I went in after that. They also took one of the desk workers to task who was making fun of a heavier set girl who just started coming in because the gym isn't a place of judgment. They were the duddest of bros. There's this guy me and my old lifting partner used to call Asian guy. He's this guy that's like about 6'1", if I had to guess, super lean, widest lats and biggest traps I've ever seen. Anyway, I always used to look forward to watching him lift, and for a while would make sure I was scheduling when I got to the gym for when Asian guy got there, because for months at least 6 times a week he would exclusively train legs. And by exclusively train legs I mean he would be at the squat rack for no less than 3 hours. I'd always just kinda hang around to see if he would do anything else a little after my own workout, and for that period of time he never did. Until one day I was doing a push workout and was doing lateral raises. I was using 15s or something really light for a warm-up, and between squat sets he came over to the dumbbells and repped out like 3 reps of 50 pounds lateral raises. So I looked at him weird, and he saw me and ran over to rep out another 5 reps of 365 pounds squats. I was so stoked I saw him doing something other than squatting that I told my friend I saw Asian guy doing lat raises trying to one-up me, and he responded by saying he did the exact same thing to him with the exact same exercise. Anyway, after a few months he started doing an actual normal rotation of push-pull legs, which was far less entertaining, and somewhere along the way he started using locker number 69, which is the one I usually use, so I've started trying to go before he gets there. I miss Asian guy. I swear my gym is actually a gateway into the Phi. One time I saw a fit man with impeccable, flowing locks stare himself down in the mirror. He just kept saying, "yes," and growling a bunch. Then he went over to the stretching area and did what could only be described as jazzercise while listening to aggressive hip-hop on his headphones so loud I could hear it from the squat rack. Periodically, he'd holler out grunts and hype sounds and curse words with the music. I'm pretty sure he was a lynx in a human body. One time I'm on the bench and I hear two dudes, "You look fucking amazing bro, you're the best looking dude in this gym, nah, you are bro." I turn around after a set, and they're identical twins. There's this old guy who wears a toupee to the gym. It's hideous, like he decided when he bought his wig, "I'll be ginger now," but he's like a swarthy Mediterranean white dude. When he works out, the toupee wax that affixes it to his bald skull melts and runs down the sides of his head. He never seems to mind. I was running on the treadmill and there was this scruffy guy all hunched down like 3 treadmills away and he kept loudly muttering to himself, "You can do it, you got this," and making weird noises. He kept doing it for like 20 minutes. At first I was like annoyed cuz he was rather loud and it was weird, but after about 10 minutes I distractedly started thinking to myself, "I can do this. I got this." He was unintentionally inspiring to me. Similar to this, there's a guy at my gym who's older, maybe 50s, but seems to be in decent shape and is loud with his treadmill affirmations. However, his technique, he turns the treadmill up to about 12 miles per hour, supports his entire body weight on the rails, and then just flails his legs on the belt for about a minute or two. Then he steps off so his feet are on either side of the belt, towels himself off, gives off a few loud WHEWs, and all rights, and then leans right back onto the rails and flails those legs again onto the belt some more. He keeps this up for about an hour, and I think he's convinced that he could do a 3-hour treadmill marathon. I know what this realistically looks like, but the image in my head is Joe Swanson from Family Guy, and his legs just wildly flailing in all directions, up, down, left, right, and just bouncing up and hitting him in the back when they skip against the treadmill. Haha, my gym arch-nem is this guy who comes in, gets on the treadmill, opens the newspaper and proceeds to read it, while holding on for dear life, and clearing his throat every 15 seconds. I once counted north of 40 ahems in about 10 minutes. Edit. I do understand some people have throat-clearing tics, and no, he doesn't have one, he does other parts of his workouts in silence and without the newspaper. So gym arch-nemesis is a thing for other people? I have one and just thought it's because I am a jerk. Edit. I love everyone's descriptions of their arch-nemesis so I thought I would share mine. My guy has personal space issues, like he has never heard of it. He will set up right beside you and basically rub elbows with you during a set. He walks around with a sense of arrogance that annoys me, like he owns the gym or something. I overheard him talking to one of the trainers about how he always sees people in the gym with poor form and it pisses him off to the point he wants to correct them. The guy can't do any type of exercise without watching a 10-minute YouTube clip on it first. It's trivial, but my own built-up competition of good me versus evil him actually keeps me motivated to work harder than he does, so in a way he keeps me on track without even knowing it or realizing he is my nemesis. Mine is this older woman who I swear waits until I am on the elliptical before she goes on another one right beside me. Which is weird in itself, but fine, whatever. The thing is though, she reeks of perfume, like, super musty old lady perfume. I swear she douses her clothing in it rather than washing it. Mine is this fit couple who, when one of them is doing a set in the squat rack, the other sits on an empty weight bench on their iPad. Get off the fucking bench. Mine is a dude that wears toe shoes and won't shut the fuck up. He is the most non-self-aware person I have ever met. I saw a guy in the corner with a 1,000-yard stare just frozen in the locker room. I used to work with homeless and rehabilitation, and there's a certain look I've gotten used to that's hard to explain. It's the "I'm an addict and I'm about to fuck up my life and all the progress I've made so that I can score" look. This kid had that same look. So I went over and talked to him, wearing a swimsuit, goggles, and my flip-flops. There's a certain pushiness that come with a "I'm a stranger who thinks you're about to fuck up your life, so let's talk about it even though you don't want to talk about it" kind of conversation. Turns out I was right. The guy had been clean for 2 months and life was falling apart and he just wanted a good score of heroin. So I talked him down. I talked about how he had a bunch of white chips. You get a white chip for 24 hours of sobriety, but hardly, and reds 1 month or golds 2 month. I told him that he's closer than he's ever been to getting a green 3 month, and that I'd be thrilled to see him get that. I have a pretty clean keychain that goes through all the colors once, different program with different colors, but same idea, which makes a pretty good conversation piece for folks waffling on recovering. I even had him hand over his stash so he wouldn't use it once he got home. Edit, thanks kind strangers for the awards and such. A lot of y'all were wondering if the guy is okay or what happened to the stash. As far as I know, the guy is okay. I never heard from him again after that day, but that tends to happen with addicts. They cut folks out of their lives when they want to move on to a better place or when they go to a darker place. I'm betting guy in the gym isn't someone he cared to keep around, as I'd just be a reminder of a rock bottom low. As for the stash, it went into a locked dumpster at a restaurant. You can lift up the lid just enough to throw in a baggie.